It's Transformers96 here with another review. This time I'm going to be reviewing the Hot Toys Guardians of the Galaxy Rocket Raccoon. So overall, as you can see, I did buy the 2-pack. However, I'm going to be reviewing Rocket Raccoon on his own as well as Groot on his own. With 2-packs, if they're similar characters, like with the Jatari being very similar figures, I reviewed them together. However, if they're very different, like Hulk and Bruce Banner, I reviewed them separate. So that's what I'm doing here. These figures are completely different, so I am reviewing them separately. So yeah, overall, very excited to get this Rocket figure. I was much more excited for Groot. Rocket was mostly, I could care less about him almost because I was so excited for Groot, but still a really nice, interesting figure, and it's definitely unique, and unique is something that sometimes we don't get from Hot Toys because, you know, especially with Iron Man armors, it's kind of same old, but with this set, of course, we've got two figures that have nothing like we've ever seen before, so it is a definitely fun, exciting set to get. So overall, let's get him out of the package and see how good he is. Alright, so Rocket comes with 6 hands as well as 4 feet. So yeah, so overall you get, you know, not a huge array of hands or anything, but you get the basics. You get 2 fists for both sides, 2 hands for holding the gun for both sides, and then 2 relaxed palms. Overall, very basic. Would have liked a more posing, like open hand, maybe like he's running or about to grab something, or, you know, something like that. But it is unnecessary. You do get the basic one, so that is quite nice. Then you get 2 sets of feet. You get 1 pose foot that you know, has the heel up, and it's just meant for the top of the foot to be flat on the floor while the other side is up. This is nice when you have them posed like on Groot's shoulder or something. It does work quite well, as well as you get 2 just regular feet, as you can see, have them on the figure. And then the figure also has the right hand that's meant for holding the gun and the left fist. I just have them on him at the moment. So yeah, overall you don't get anything too special, but you do get all the basics, and it is nice that we get an extra set of posed feet. Alright, and obviously you're going to get Rocket Raccoon's signature gun from the movie, and as you can see, looking quite nice here. Hot Toys did a good job with it. It is more of a tannish kind of copper look to it, you know, like a very light gold almost. I like that the edge has a blue kind of a phaser, almost like a wearing on it, like it's been shot a lot, you know, and it shoots some sort of blue energy or something. You can see there are, if I get the light, there we go, you can see the actual like 4 areas where it does shoot out from the center of the gun. As you can see, looking quite nice. It's overall very good. It seems quite sturdy. He holds on to it pretty well. I would recommend putting the hand on the handle first and then plugging the hand into his arm. Just because of how this is shaped, it can be a little bit tricky to get him on, to get his hand holding the handle. But overall, you can do it. It's pretty easy. It's nothing, you know, too crazy hard or anything like that. You can get him to hold it with both hands as well, being that the arm does kind of have a butterfly joint. You can have him, you know, holding it while steadying it with another arm, so that is quite nice. Overall, the weapon is quite good and it fits good in his hand. He can hold it. He can even like hold it up, you know, just like this. Get you a better look at that. Hold it kind of like that, which is quite nice. Being that it is so large, it is quite surprising that his arm can support it completely without any trouble. So overall, a nice weapon to go with Rocket. Alright, so with the exclusive, when you buy the 2-pack, you'll get the Dancing Groot, and then when you buy the 2-pack Sideshow exclusive, you'll get the just regular potted Groot without the arms open or anything. So yeah, so overall, I'm not quite sure which if these accessories are meant to go with Groot or with Rocket, so I'm basically going to be putting this section of the video in both of my reviews, because they could fit with either of them. Overall, I do like these a lot, and these were somewhat of a surprise accessory. You know, when these figures went on pre-order, these weren't items that were mentioned being included with them. A couple weeks after they went on pre-order, though, they did show this one, the Dancing Groot, just his silhouette. They didn't actually have the accessory sculpted or anything, and they said that that would be included when you buy the 2-pack. And then a couple weeks after that, they showed the just standard standing Baby Groot and said that that would be the Sideshow exclusive. So overall, and then Sideshow, if you had ordered from them already, they transferred your order into the exclusive, so that you would get the exclusive item. So very odd how they ended up giving us these accessories. Overall, though, I'm super happy that they did so. They look pretty great. They're sculpted, you know, nicely, you know, for such small little accessories. They're quite well detailed. As you can see there, they look quite cute, the dancing one and posed one. I was thinking when they first originally said that we'd get this just stick one version, I was hoping that would be more of the very skinny like stick when they like are sitting in their spaceship and Rocket has the pot on his lap, and then you can see that Groot is still alive. You know, it's just his little stick and his very tiny little stick arms. I would have hoped that it was more like that, so these would be not so similar, because these are basically the same thing in two different poses for the most part. So I would have preferred that very skinny one that we saw before he's more grown up into this age of Groot, basically. But overall, I am still very happy with it. The Sideshow Exclusive one isn't super necessary, and it is sold out now, so you can't get it. But it's still just a nice little touch that we did get this little stick Groot. You know, nothing too special, but definitely neat. You can see his arms all around it. And then the posed one where he's dancing is, of course, what I would consider the most important one. Overall, two really nice little accessories, and they fit well with Rocket if you want him to hold him, or if you just want... Here's a little size comparison. Or if you just want them displayed in front of Groot, they look great as well. So they're just nice little additions for your Guardians of the Galaxy shelf in general. So with Rocket Raccoon, you get the standard base that's coming with all the Guardians of the Galaxy figures. Overall, it is a nice little shape to it. It's not quite square, not oval like the other ones. The oval ones are fine, but I do like the shape better because they kind of will fit more, better together. You can actually even have them touching, and they look pretty good. Overall, it is kind of a textured top here, which will stop the figures from sliding off if you ever are worried about that. Especially with Iron Man figures just on like one of those glossy bases, it can feel like he's gonna, just slide right off of it. So on this style of a base, that certainly won't be a problem. Got a nice little nameplate that says Guardians of the Galaxy, and just of course just Rocket. Doesn't say Rocket Raccoon. He does have a clear little pole that's supposed to go on this. That pole, I don't actually display him on a base, so I put that pole in some of my small bins of Hot Toys accessories somewhere, and I really just couldn't find it when I just quickly looked. So I don't have it here, but he does have a very small pole. It's basically a miniature version of the regular one that we see, and then it does have a clip, and the clip is just a miniature version of the regular clip that we see, so it is kind of neat to get like a mini version of that. Overall, looking quite good though, and his base is the same size as the base that comes with Groot or Star-Lord or Gamora, so his base is the same size, but the pole and clip are miniaturized. So yeah, overall, nice, pretty basic base though. Alright, so now to go over the figure. First, to start off with the face sculpt. Overall, this face sculpt, when they first showed it in the preview pictures, I wasn't too happy with it. I thought it looked alright. It just didn't look too Rocket Raccoon-y. Like, it looked like a real raccoon, just not like a Rocket Raccoon, in my opinion. Overall, after getting it, though, I do definitely see the resemblance a lot more. It's not perfect, in my opinion, but it is still quite nice. I think it looks good. They sculpted the fur pretty great. Oh, and his tail just fell off. There we go, get it back on. Overall, they did sculpt the fur really nicely, and the teeth and everything especially, and I like the very glossy eyes, which is actually brown. His eyes are brown with black pupils. There's no white in the eyes at all, though, so overall, I really do like them a lot. The whiskers are quite strange. One side is pointed up, one side is pointed down, and that's basically what everybody's getting, so it's not just mine or anything. I don't quite know why they sculpted them like this. It does look odd. I would have liked them to be both more, slightly more even. They don't both have to be exactly the same, because, in real life, it'd probably be a little off, so I do kind of like that it's a little off, but this is just too much in my opinion. I don't like that they're completely like opposites. One's going up, one's going down. So overall, I would have liked them to be sculpted a little bit more evenly. The actual costume here is very small, but it is quite nice. Got a nice fabric there with rubber kind of armor on top of it almost. As you can see, there's even straps going down to the thigh rubber section, rubber straps there. Quite nice. And then, of course, all of his fur is actually sculpted. It isn't anything like Chewbacca or anything where it's actual fur. That is actually plastic. So yeah, on the back there you get some nice armor. It's more of a harder armor. The top layer, this top section right here is hard, but then the bottom section is rubber. So yeah, overall quite nice, and as you can see, his little tail is sculpted there. His tail does have the tendency to fall off of this ball joint pretty darn easily, especially since you know, a lot of times I have it posed down to help him support him stand. So it does have the tendency to fall even more so because the ball joint is just more exposed. It's more easily popped off. So I wish that they would have came up with more of what they do with like a normal wrist on a figure, where it's, you know, ball hinge and it's got a pin that goes into this rather than this just being wrapped around the ball joint. So that would have been better, but overall it's not like a huge concern. It doesn't feel like it's weak or anything. It's just annoying that, you know, every now and then you're gonna have to pop it back into place. So now going over articulation, that is of course going to be one point of interest on this figure, being that it's not just like a regular body with clothes on top of it where we would basically know the, you know, articulation. This of course is a completely new body because it is so small, so articulation is going to be very different here. Overall, the head sculpt has a ball joint at the lower neck, which doesn't move too well. You can feel that it's there. You get some side-to-side motion with it, but that's basically it. The actual head, the top of the neck, is where there's another joint. Can go up and down very slightly, and then of course side to side completely. So overall you're not going to get too much up and down, but you will get complete side to side motion. You've got ball jointed shoulders, which are quite nice. They're on just a regular ball joint. They work pretty well, but they're also on a butterfly joint as well, so they do have some forward and back movement, which is quite nice and helps him hold the gun with two hands a lot better, so that is good. You've got ball hinge elbows, you know, hinge swivel. So they swivel and hinge, of course, and they hinge quite well, just a little bit above 90 degrees, which is nice. Then his wrists are not, you know, hands on the wrist peg. The wrist peg is actually sculpted onto the hands, which is nice. You don't have to worry about switching out the pegs or anything when you switch out the hands, but it's on a hinge swivel as well. So overall, it hinges quite nicely and swivels completely. There is articulation in the torso, but being that there's layers of fabric upon rubber and sometimes plastic armor bits on here, it does hinder the torso pretty much completely, so you really don't get any movement other than maybe a slight and very slight little ab crunch. You're going to get very limited on the thighs as well. They go up about that far, and that is of course still stressing the rubber there too, so that's not great whatsoever. And then you know, it goes in and out not too much. It can go in quite far, but out it doesn't really go at all. You've got a hinge swivel at the knee. The hinge tail fell off again. The hinge actually moves quite nicely. You know what? Yeah, I guess there is a bit of the swivel doesn't work too well. It's just a very small range of movement there. You do have a nice hinge though. Moves a decent amount, nothing like a double hinge or anything, but does still move quite nicely. Then you've got a ball hinge on the ankles, so they hinge up much more than they hinge down. But if you want ones that are hinged down very far, you have an extra set of feet that are hinged down a lot further than that. And then of course the tail is on a ball joint, like I talked about when I went over the actual sculpt. So overall articulation on him is alright. You're going to be able to do, you know, of course have him standing there in a natural position. He'll look good and everything. You're just not going to get anything dynamic. But you can use Groot to help you with your dynamic poses, because if you have him on Groot's shoulder, you can have Groot in more of a dynamic pose, but have him in just something that's more, you know, simple. Just having him, you know, holding the gun like he's shooting it, but still with Groot carrying the weight of the pose, basically. So you can still get him looking very nice, or if you just want him just standing up there, he looks great as well, just standing. So overall, sculpt of the figure or articulation is alright, enough to get some basic positions down, but nothing too great when it comes to full action poses. Alright, so as you can see, here's the Guardians of the Galaxy team all together, of course minus Drax. Although with their showing Drax at Comic-Con, there's still hope for that figure, so fingers crossed, hopefully we'll get him, and we don't have to wait till Guardians of the Galaxy 2. However, here are the Guardians that we have. As you can see, they're all in pretty great scale, I think. The two that you'd be worried about, of course, is Rocket and Groot. Rocket, however, is quite small. I think in the movie, he is a little bit smaller than that. Scroll it down so you can kind of see. Overall, when he's on Groot's shoulder, he looks a little bit bigger than he is. Possibly in the movie, they have him just in. Sometimes when he's interacting with the people, he might be a little bit smaller than he actually is when he's just kind of on his own or just with the regular size characters. I'm not quite sure. Overall, though, I think that Rocket should be a little bit smaller. If he's any smaller, though, it would be really hard to articulate him and stuff, though. So overall, I think it's pretty decent, although possibly not quite accurate. Groot, however, I think is pretty decent. He's quite a bit taller than them. He is very crouched down in this position. This is a position that I'm just keeping him in this review because this is how I display him, and I want him stayed like that. But he's quite crouched down. He's got bent knee, bent thigh, with the ab crunch bent quite a bit forward and everything. So he is bent down quite a lot, and he still towers over everybody else. And if you had him straight up, he'd be way tall. In this position, though, he can fit in a D12 cabinet, if you're wondering. So a little bit bent at the thigh and knee, and you'll be all set. He's not like quite even touching the roof or anything like that. He's got a little bit more space on him anyway. So overall, he is a very tall figure. And what's crazy is that Rocket is 160, Gamora is 200, Star-Lord is 230, I believe, and then Groot is 200. So Groot is as much money as Gamora. I don't understand it. He is so well priced. So overall, this is a nice little comparison to see all the Guardians together. They're all in great scale. None of them are the same height, which is how it should be in the movie. And then if they do Drax, he should be just a tad bit taller than Star-Lord. So overall, they should all be in good scale. And it's kind of neat that the scale is not the same for anybody. They're all different sizes, so that's kind of neat. So there you go. It's a little comparison of the Guardians. So overall, this is of course a very unique figure. It's unlike anything we've really ever seen before from Hot Toys. Overall, it's pretty decent, is what I'd say. The sculpt itself is quite nice. I actually like the sculpt a lot. The clothing is designed quite well. The articulation is quite hindered. The face sculpt, in my opinion, is decent. It's not quite the CGI renders, although I would imagine it's very hard to sculpt something in plastic that is just a CGI animal in the movie. So I think that they did a good job. Just it's not quite perfect, but overall I like the rest of the sculpt on the body. I like the I like the suit. Articulation's limited. The tail falling off is very annoying. Accessory wise, he comes with a fair amount. Nothing else I could have really wanted. I would have probably preferred his red suit, though. I find that this orange one he doesn't use very much, and just having the red suit would help him fit in more with the team when they all wear red. And now that they're doing Drax in red apparently from Comic-Con, it would have been so nice to get the red suit instead of the orange one from him. That's a personal preference, though. That's not like Hot Toys did something wrong. It's just something I would have preferred. And then his price tag is $160, which I find overpriced. I don't find it like super overpriced, but about $20 too high. I think it's just, you know, he's so small, and even though he is detailed and everything, I think 160 is a little bit pushing it. So 140 would have been pretty ideal in my opinion. However, Groot is so much cheaper than I would have expected him to be that it more than evens it out. So even just buying this 2-pack, you're still getting it at a much better deal than I would have thought that you would have. But if you're just buying Rocket on his own, I do find him overpriced too. So overall, I would recommend this if you're a fan of Rocket Raccoon in general. If you really like Rocket Raccoon, this is definitely going to be one that you got to get. Or if you're building the entire team of the Guardians. If you're not building the team and you just want a couple, you know, maybe 1 or 2 characters that you like, I would probably not recommend this one just based on figure-wise in general. Groot is by far the best in my opinion from the Guardians of the Galaxy team. Star-Lord's pretty good, although, you know, he's a bit pricey, but he comes with enough stuff to justify it. Gamora doesn't come with much. She's not that fun of a figure because of the rubber arms and everything, but she's a great looking one though. So overall, I would recommend probably Groot or Star-Lord over this Rocket Raccoon figure, but still a nice addition to the Guardians of the Galaxy collection. And being that he's so small and so different, Hot Toys did a good job with kind of a first-time figure, basically. They didn't really have any other practice with making him other than just this attempt. So yeah, that's my review of the Hot Toys Guardians of the Galaxy Rocket Raccoon. Thanks so much for watching.